Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for this community education webinar. We're really thrilled to be here with you to talk to you a little bit about digital well-being, online safety for all of you parents and caregivers at Kearney. We're really thrilled to have you here for those of you who are joining us live, and hopefully many more of you will be watching a recording of this webinar later on. This is the first webinar that we provided to your community. So we're really excited about that. And in the interest of all of our participants who will be joining us live, we do want to give them about a minute to slowly trickle in. As we're doing that, and before Greg and I go into our intros, I will take a look at our attendee list, and I can see that we have Ray there. So Ray, I will invite you to unmute now and just say a few words of welcome.
Well, hello there. I certainly appreciate everybody who is here. For the record, I'm Ray Weichel. I'm the Director of Communications and Community Relations for Kearney School District. We are very appreciative of all the folks at Linewize for pulling this together and for all the way that they support our efforts to keep our kids safe online and in other digital environments. So I do want to also add that we will be my understanding is that we'll be able to take this and put it online to make this available moving forward. So again, thank you for giving me the chance to join you guys, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Sure, Ray, absolutely. And yeah, just to confirm that is in fact correct. So as I mentioned, that this is a live webinar that we are providing to the community, but we are recording this presentation as well, and we will be sharing it with Ray and his team afterwards so that it can really serve as that ongoing resource for the whole community of parents and caregivers. So thank you very much, Ray. I think we still have a few people joining us, but I think we'll start things off with a little bit of introduction. So my name is Teodora. I'm the Director of Wellbeing here at Linewize. My background is a little bit different, perhaps, than what you sort of typically see at an organization like ours. So I have a master's degree in clinical psychology. I've worked a lot with parents, with young children, with adolescents as well, around topics of everything from emotional intelligence and behavioral issues to things like digital well-being. What does healthy technology use look like? What is responsible digital citizenship, and how do we really support both children and adults in forming healthy relationships with technology? So I'm really thrilled to be here with you to talk to you a little bit about some of the main recommendations and guidelines that we share with all caregivers when it comes to that additional support that they can provide to their students on top of what the school district is already doing. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Greg, my co-presenter.
Oh, thank you, Teodora. I appreciate it. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Greg Hall. I'm the Director of Community here at Linewise, and I work with our districts on the parental integration aspect and tools and resources that we're going to be covering this evening over the next 45 minutes or so. My background is K-12 education. I started teaching in 1997, and throughout the next 20 years was a high school English teacher, an assistant principal, a middle school principal, and a high school principal. And in kind of a fun small world moment, I found out that one of my former students from when I taught back in the late 90s and early 2000s is actually a teacher now in your school district. She was a freshman in my English class, and now she's one of your teachers. I just thought that was really, really cool. So very excited to be sharing the resources that your district is making available to you. These are all under the umbrella of really empowering parents with educational resources and tools to be a partner and to be a partner with the district in the spirit of helping kids have a safer digital experience. So tonight, Teodora is going to lead us through one of those key resources, the Online Safety Hub. It's one of three pillars that your district is making available to you. The other two being the Qustodio parent app, which we will take a closer look at, and webinars such as this, which are being made available to you. After Teodora walks through the Online Safety Hub, and I'm really excited for you to see that. I think you'll think it's a really great. I use it a lot with my own family. Teodora will go over some of, really kind of current topics and the current key online safety risks that the research and her experience is uncovering, and it's important for parents to be aware of. And then she'll share with all of us some, now what, how do I as a parent, what should I, how do I manage this? How do I think about helping my child as they explore the digital world? And she will cover what she calls the ABCs of online safety management, which is a really nice approach that you can start implementing in your homes immediately. And then I'll wrap up with a look at the Qustodio parent app. So, on top of the educational resources, this is a tool that's being provided for you by the district to give you some visibility and some control on your child's school device, as well as on personal or family devices. And so, what Kearney District is providing is what we call the community program. And really, this is the district putting forward the best in class resources that are available to help keep kids safe online. Uh, the district already uses our web filtering, which is designed to keep kids off the bad stuff, block inappropriate content, make aware admin of any concerning activity. But that's just one layer of really a comprehensive online safety kind of approach. And so it's such a huge important component of this is parental engagement, parental involvement, and parental empowerment. So the overall program, we're involved in one of them now. It's the parent webinars that we are able to present to your district. The Qustodio parent app, which is a tool that you can start using immediately to gain some visibility into your child's online activity and have some control over those devices, all in the spirit of just properly supervising and guiding your child. And then what we'll kick off with here in just a second, and I'm really excited for you to see, is the Online Safety Hub. This is a reference website that is available to you. So Teodora will walk us through all of this, and I'll be back in a few minutes to talk more about the Qustodio Parent app.
Sounds great. Thank you, Greg. All right, so some of you may already be familiar with the Hub as a resource, some of you may not. I am going to jump over into the Hub in just a second. I just want to linger on this screen for a little bit in case you would like to use your smartphone right now to scan this QR code. It will take you straight into the Hub. And in a second, I will be sharing this URL with you in the chat as well. So if you just bear with me for a second, I'm going to jump on over into the Online Safety Hub. Greg, could you give me a thumbs up if you can see the Hub now? Perfect. All right, great. Technology is cooperating. I'm just going to take a second to copy and paste this here for all of you, again, who are joining us live. If you'd like to pop on over into the Hub now, you can. And I should also just mention, again, for those of you who are live with us here for this presentation, if you do have any questions or comments that come up as we share this material with you. In a few minutes, Greg will also be taking you through a demo of the Qustodio Parent app as well. So if any questions come up during any of that, you can feel free to use the Q&A function inside Zoom, which should be enabled for you. And then if you'd like to, you can also feel free to use the chat function as well, and just to share some thoughts or insights or any questions that you might have. So this is your district's Online Safety Hub. I want to take you through a very quick sort of run through of the main sections of the Hub so that you know where to go depending on the types of questions that you might have, the type of information and support that you might be looking for. So you can see that we have these main tabs up here across the top. The Parental Control app tab is where you'll be able to find a lot of information about Qustodio, about the Parental Control app. You can see that we have this Create Your Account button here, so you can head on over there later on to create an account if you haven't done that yet. And then you'll find some really useful articles there and guides that can help you learn a little bit more about how the app works, why we recommend it, and what are all the really great ways in which you can use it. And Greg will be speaking to that a bit later on as well. The parent advice section is one of the two sort of most, I'd say the bulkiest sections of the Hub, where you'll find the most amount of information and support. We have categorized this content in a couple of different ways. So we have this starting out section, which is really great for some of those foundational topics around online safety. So if your children are starting out with the online world, so messaging apps, social media, smartphone ownership and things like that, you'll be able to find information on that there. You'll hear me referring to screen routines and tech agreements in just a little bit as part of that ABC approach to online safety management, and you'll be able to find templates for those routines and agreements here in this section. And then you'll also hear me talk a little bit about pornography and sexting and nudes in a few minutes as well. These are incredibly important topics to talk to our children about, but they can be very uncomfortable and very difficult to actually get started. So we wanted to make sure to address that difficulty here as well. And we have some conversation starters for you there on some of those sort of trickier and more uncomfortable topics to address with our kids. The information and guides area is where we have some of our more long form content. You'll hear me talk about some of the key online safety risks that Greg mentioned earlier as well. This is where you'll be able to find more in-depth guides on each one of those, deep dives on some of the main platforms your children might be using or might be begging to use at this point. And then we have a whole area of blogs and articles where you'll hear us and read us talking about things like ChatGPT, so the role of AI in education, talking about parenting there, talking about mental health issues as they relate to social media platforms, and you'll see a whole host of other topics there as well. And then if you have a very specific sort of issue that you want to be that you want to get some help with and some guidance and support, we have age-specific information here around some of these key issues that we often hear parents and caregivers talk about. So things like encountering pornography online or issues with online bullying. And then reporting incidents online is an incredibly important aspect of children's online safety, part of really the engagement and the education around how to deal with issues online. So this is where you'll find links taking you out to some of the major social media and gaming platforms that your children might be frequenting, and this will show you apologies, how you can report those issues on those platforms. If you do find that there's any topic we haven't covered or you'd like us to write more about a particular topic, give you more guidance, you can use this request new article button, and that will come straight through to myself and our content creation team, and we'll start working on that piece as soon as possible. If we think there's a piece there that might sort of bridge the time until we get the new piece ready, we will let you know what that is as well. The online safety tech area is the not so exciting or interesting for parents. This is where we try to cover off on some of the least favorite topics for parents and caregivers. So things like how to set up parental control tools on different platforms and different operational systems, and then some guides that I'll be referring to again when I talk about the ABCs of online safety management. Some of the sort of baseline filtering that we want to do, so enabling things like Google Safe Search, YouTube restricted mode, and things like that. So you'll find very, very simple sort of bullet point format guidelines for how to do these things there. And then the final section here that is one of the most exciting probably areas is our app and game review section. At this point, we have over 300 that we have reviewed for you. There's a few different sort of filters here that you can use in order to find the platform that you're looking for. This is where we share about age ratings, so age recommendations and restrictions for different platforms, some of the key risks that your children might encounter there, some of the main features of these platforms, and then how you can make those platforms safer for your child. Again, what are some of the conversation starters that you can use and other really cool things like that. One of the other coolest parts of this section of the hub, the app and game review section, is that it connects through to the Qustodio parent app. So that if you do find that your child is using something like YouTube, for example, the information from this section of the hub will pull through into the parent control app so that you can learn a little bit more while you're in the app about a platform like a YouTube. And then the About section I won't go into, but this is where you'll be able to go in and learn a little bit more about myself and some of the other team members that we have who are experts with different backgrounds in this area of online safety, digital well-being, responsible technology use, and digital citizenship, and so on. So this is the online safety hub there. Again, I shared that URL with you in the chat. If you'd like to, you can head on over there. For now, we will go back into our presentation, go into slide mode. There we go. All right, so I wanted to touch on this topic of key online safety risks. As Greg mentioned, we spend a lot of time thinking and talking about the sort of scenarios that children find themselves in online. We are obviously able to gain a lot of insight into children's online activity through the work that we do with our partner districts, but we also do tap into sort of the global trends. As you may have seen in one of our slides earlier, we are a global organization, and I myself have counterparts in all the different regions where we operate. So we're able to have this really great 360-degree view of some of the issues that children encounter online, and we really use those to structure this sort of lay of the land when it comes to some of the risks that children might encounter. And these are the 8 key ones that we see happening sort of over and over again. They will vary a little bit based on obviously your child's age. Some of them will be more relevant to your, say, 16-year-old, and then they will be to your 6 or 7-year-old. But it's really important that you have a general sense of some of the problems that your children might encounter online. And again, as I showed you a little bit earlier, there'll be information on each one of these risks on your online safety hub. The one thing that I just wanted to sort of highlight here, especially in the areas of pornography and sexting, one of the other really cool things that we found that your district is doing is really trying to get a little bit more of an understanding of students' experiences with these particular online safety risks. And you may be familiar with the fact that there was a survey that the district had shared a little bit earlier on this year to really look at what students grade 6 and up, what their experiences have been with encountering pornography and with sending and receiving nude images. So the district was very kind to share those survey results with us in the interest of really informing us as we present this educational material to you. So I just wanted to pull out sort of a couple of sort of trends that we observed there that I think would be really important for all of the parents and caregivers in your district to be aware of. Again, I think they really serve that purpose of giving you some ideas for conversation starters and sort of ways that you can engage your young people in these conversations that can be quite difficult. But I think the main thing that we saw as an outcome of that survey is that you can pretty much guarantee that most of your children are sort of encountering some of these risks and they are engaging with some of these behaviors. So one of the things that was really interesting was that you typically wouldn't associate these risks with children as young as 6th graders. This is unfortunately or fortunately the case. So we do need to start thinking about these topics quite early on. One of the other things that was really interesting for me when we were looking at the pornography sort of piece of it in particular is that about a third of the exposure to porn is accidental. I think that's something really important to keep in mind because sometimes we might jump to conclusions and sort of accuse our children of having seeked out these virtual spaces intentionally. Oftentimes this can come about as an accident because the internet is obviously a little bit of a wild west. And we really need to be mindful of that. The other thing that was really interesting in those results is that so much of the exposure to pornography happens in that social context. And what I mean by that is that we find that children will often share this type of content with each other, which is a very normal behavior because obviously when they find something that's different or unusual or really interesting, they'll want to exchange that information with one of their peers. So I think that's an important thing to think about in terms of how the exposure spreads and how this type of adult content spreads. Children are very keen to share this kind of interesting and secretive, obviously, information with each other. The one final thing that I wanted to say also, which is really related to some of the gender differences that came up in that survey is, and this is particularly relevant if you do have girls in your family, is that about 50% of the females who responded to that survey had either sent or received nudes. The boys didn't come even close to that percentage. So I think this again gives us cause to pause and to really think about how the sort of the exchange of these types of images, this type of sexualized and adult content really happens in that social context within the school. So these are just a few of the things that I wanted to share with you. I know that all of you would have received some communication about that survey in your emails. Maybe you want to go back and have a look at that again. And again, I hope that in combination with some of that content that you'll find in the Online Safety Hub might help you to start sort of breaching that topic, talking about that, not only with your children, but really amongst yourselves as a community. And again, I know that the district is doing some really great work to raise awareness around that and to really get that communication going. So I will now go into the ABCs of online safety management. I want to tell you a little bit about each one of the three elements of online safety management, give you a little bit of guidance around each one of those, and then Greg will really showcase how this plays out within the Qustodio parent app and how you can really use the app in order to implement these ABCs. So we're talking here for one about access to technology and how we manage that. We're talking about how we build those boundaries around technology use. And then finally, something that I've mentioned several times already is that communication piece. So how do we talk to our children about technology? And by that, I don't only mean sort of the bad side, so the many risks that they might encounter, but just generally their digital lives. How do we talk to them about all of these topics? For those of you who have children in those sort of tweens and early teen years, I just wanted to share this little bit of insight with you around their increased exposure to risks online, the increase that we see in risky behaviors online, and what are some of the explanations that we have for why that happens. And there's a couple of pieces here. On the one hand, we know that children, by the time they reach an age of sort of 12 or 13, they certainly own their own device by then, a smartphone. They own tablets a lot earlier on, in some cases as early as the age 1 or 2. So device ownership definitely goes up. But we also see that the changes in their brain development are also impacting some of these experiences that they're having online. So if you have children around this age, you certainly would have noticed that they have this increased desire for autonomy, that they do have a sort of decreased ability to control their impulses, to make rational decisions. And so what we end up with then, both online and offline, is this increase in risky behaviors and decision making that really is based on just pure emotion, right? So the ability to control those emotions, to slow them down, to change them, that really won't develop until much, much later on, based on some research as late as the age of sort of 23, 24, and even 25. So this is the reason really why those consistent boundaries and really sticking through with some of our rules and some of our expectations are so critical during this period. So some of these I've already mentioned to you already. Just wanted to kind of solidify the importance of managing not only what our children have access to, but when they're having access to it as well. And so again, Greg will be talking a little bit more about the Qustodio parental controls. There are plenty of other parental controls that you'll be able to find. A lot of thankfully, gaming and social media platforms now have built-in parental control tools as well. So we always encourage you to use those, to use the Online Safety Hub as well, especially that app and game review section, where again, you'll be able to learn a little bit more about age recommendations and restrictions and why they're there. That's one of the biggest issues that we're still seeing, is that even though a lot of these virtual spaces are supposed to be limited to children at least 13 and over, we often see that they will either lie about their age themselves, or sometimes the parents will actually help them create accounts on platforms that they're really not meant to be on until they're a little bit older. And then I mentioned things like YouTube restricted mode and safe search as well. These are all things that you can utilize as well. When we're talking about setting clear boundaries, we are talking about screen time. And again, Greg will be illustrating that within Qustodio in a little bit, but we're also really talking about what are expected behaviors online. So for example, things like nudes and sexting will fall under that. Downloading apps without permission will fall under that. How we communicate with other people online, what is our vocabulary, what tone do we use with other people? So negative online behaviors, bullying behaviors, all of that falls under this category. So using tech contracts or digital contracts that I mentioned to you earlier are really important to lay out some of those rules and make sure that everyone in the home understands what they are. Identifying some of those clear off times, especially before bed, is incredibly important. And then removing devices from the bedroom as much as you possibly can. And this is really important for you, just as much as it is for your child as well. And then ultimately, I would say one of the most effective approaches is to really model the behavior that we want to see from our children. I like to use the example of screen-free dinners, if that's something that you decide to implement. Turning off your own phone first in front of your child without saying a word necessarily and putting it away can be a much, much stronger way to teach them about these expected behaviors than actually verbally telling them what kind of behavior you're after. And then third and final, really making this topic a frequent conversation point in your home. We do find that children who either tend to have more positive than negative experiences online and or who tend to be better at handling negative experiences online are children who get talked to a lot and get involved in these conversations quite frequently with the adults in their lives. So really showing them that we're actively involved, we're curious, we're positively engaged in this. You can tell them, I just saw a webinar that our district provided us to help us learn a little bit about your lives online and some of the places that you frequent and some of the risks that you might encounter. So, anything you can use as a conversation point is fantastic. And really using communication strategies like problem solving, so helping your children problem solve when there's an online bullying perhaps event that happens. Really being patient with them, leaving some space when you engage in these conversations. It might be difficult for them to talk to you about them at first. And then also, as much as we possibly can, really trying to talk with them and not at them, which can be very, very difficult. But I think what's important and helpful for us to keep in mind is that we have our own set of sort of knowledge and really helpful tips and pieces of wisdom that we can impart on them. And then they have their own kind of wisdom as well that's really important in this whole conversation because their experience of the internet is so very different to ours. And they're digital natives in a way that we really never were. So we really want to think about partnering up with them because together we're so much stronger in dealing with these issues of online safety. So with that, I'm going to stop just for a second, hand it over to Greg, who is really now going to sort of illustrate to us how this ABC approach works from within the Qustodio parent.
Thanks, Teodora. And I've just noticed there is the sun is starting to set here out in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the light is it's at an odd angle. So I apologize to everybody for the visual there. So I'm excited to share with you a tool that your district is making available to you to use completely free of charge called the Qustodio Parent app. And before I switch gears and hop into a demo and show you really what it looks like, what's the purpose of a parent app? And I think as you think about it, it works in a lot of different angles. Um, but what it does at a very basic level is give you as a parent visibility into what your child is doing online. And so this Custodio parent app will provide that visibility to you for the school device that your child has issued to them, as well as a personal device if you would like to extend that coverage and have some filtering and visibility there as well. And the spirit of this is, I think in education certainly, and I think just maybe as parents, as technology has proliferated, we find ourselves not having a view into that world. And I think we know as educators, as parents, we know how important appropriate supervision is for a child's safety. We understand that in the physical world, whether it's a school field trip or the cafeteria or the hallways or when they're playing in the street. We understand how supervision helps. That an adult presence helps kids make better decisions, helps young people be less impulsive, knowing that mom and dad can see what's going on. But at the same time, as a parent, it gives you that peace of mind to check and say, all right, everything's going on, everything's going well, everything's okay. It can also provide you some of those talking points for that communication. If you see something that's of concern, you are best equipped to engage with your child and have that conversation and provide that support. So what I'm about to do is share my screen. I'll show you what the Qustodio parent app looks like, and we'll talk about how you can create your account. Teodora already mentioned one way. In the online safety hub that was shared in the chat, there is a section for the parental control app. There's a link right there. If you click on that link, it will take you, let me share my screen. It'll take you right here. Okay. So if you click on that link, it will take you to the page where you can create your account. I've already created an account, so I'm just skipping the make up a password stage, but I want to log in as if I'm a parent. I'm going to log in here, enter my password, and you will use the email that the school has on file for you. So use the email that the school district has. If you have any technical questions or need additional support, you can create a support ticket directly to us through this Get in Touch link here from the landing page. So if you're running into problems or you have questions about a feature or function, please feel free to reach out to us directly. Okay. When I create my account or when I log in, I will see my children's names listed here. So if I have one student, I'll see one child's name. If I have multiple, I'll see all of my kids here. These are not real students or real people. These are just some bots that generate activity for us that we've given names to here. So it will ask you to connect to your child's device. If you would like, you can enter your child's year of birth. As Teodora mentioned, for the apps and games that we have reviews for, we also put age-based guidance within the Qustodio parent app for you to access. Um, I put in my daughter. My daughter's in sixth grade, so we're really kind of encountering so many of these things that we're talking about tonight. You do not have to enter this though. That is specifically for those additional insights and a quicker link to the online safety hub. All right, so once you log in, you're going to see this on the left. There's a My Family section. This is where I can choose which child's information I would like to look at if I have more than one child. There's a Devices section. We'll touch on that in just a second. And then there's an Account section. In the Account section, if I would like, I can choose to receive a daily email report about activity. I can receive a weekly email summary if I would like to. I can also invite an additional adult if you want to invite an additional parent or just another adult that you would like to have that kind of partner in that supervision. You're free to invite them here as well. You can also change the language here. So if you'd prefer a different language than English for this interface, you can change that here as well. But let's go back to the My Family section. So when we talk about Qustodio, what's being provided to you are really, there's two halves to this. The first is visibility and some control on the school issued device. And then the second is you get a license to put this on a personal device for each child that you have in the district, completely free. So, what I'd like to do is start with the school device functionality, what that looks like. So, in other words, if you create your account, you have no interest of adding a personal device, what I'm going to show you first is exactly what you'll have available to you. And then I'll transition and show you what additional features are available on the personal device and what that looks like. So, all right, our young man here, William Logan 1. This is an example of I'm a parent, I've created an account, but I have not added that free personal device license. There are three parts of this that you have access to. The first is called the activity summary. This is just a very high level overview of the most used apps and websites and most used categories that your child has used or visited over the week or over the day. You can look at a daily summary or a weekly summary, and then you can see total daily usage on the school device, total number of unique internet hits that the child has created. This part is interesting at times. Um, but really, the more granular kind of conversation starting material um, lives in this section we call the timeline. So the timeline is actually a 30-day activity history of what your child is doing on the device. And it looks at all of these categories. So it will look at videos. If I want to sort by videos, I can click on the video as a parent. If I want to see what was this Scalextric car versus racing, I can click on that and it'll actually take me to the video to watch if I would like. You can sort by websites and apps that were visited or blocked even. And this is not, we wouldn't actually probably block Nissan USA, but this is just in the demo purposes. And then searches, I can look and see what my child was searching for. And again, this is a great conversation. This is a place that I use with my daughter quite a bit, where I see that she has an interest or is exploring a topic, not something nefarious or even concerning, but just is an opportunity for me to speak with her and talk with her about what she's interested in. Certainly over the years, over the past 7 years that I've worked with parents on this type of application, there are times when parents find something that's concerning. We had a young middle school student a couple of years ago that was searching for how to lose weight rapidly, and it upon conversation with the parent said, hey, where does this come from? It wasn't for a science project, it wasn't for school, it was they had been being bullied and were looking to make some changes in what could potentially be a very harmful way. But the point is, the visibility to this information can empower you as a parent to know what to do, right? If it's just encourage and support what your child is doing, if it's to redirect, if it's to have a difficult conversation, most of that information will come to you from this timeline section. The final piece that's available to you on the school device is a pause button. So when we talk about managing access, you have the ability as a parent to pause internet access on your child's school device outside of school hours only. You can imagine why we don't make that available during school hours, right? You can anyhow, you get it. But outside of school hours only, as a parent, this purple box here turns into a pause button. So on this demo account, school hours are in session, so it doesn't have that pause button feature. Okay. So on the school device, if I don't do anything else other than create my account, I have the dashboard of activity on my child's school device, and I have the pause button, and then I have a timeline that lets me see what my child was doing online. Now, the second half of this, if you would like, you can add a personal device or a family owned device for each child that you have in the district. To do that, you go to the devices section here and you select which type of device your child has, and it will work on, there's a drop down menu here. It'll work on Android, iOS, Windows devices, Macs, Kindles, and Chromebooks. I actually have this on my daughter's Kindle Fire. She calls it her iPad. I don't correct her or make any changes on that, but it's proven to be very helpful here. But when you select the device, all the instructions are very similar here. It will ask you to download this Kids Qustodio app, the purple one, on on your child's device. There are a couple of steps that you follow to confirm that you want to protect the device. And then what happens is you get a combination user experience of the school device visibility and pause button in conjunction with the family owned device or personal device visibility and functionality. So I'll show you what this looks like. Now, this account, this William Logan, this is an example of a parent who has created their school account and has added a personal device. All that to say, this account isn't actually connected to anything. So visually, I just want to give you an idea of what it looks like when you do that. And you can kind of use our imaginations together to fill in the blanks. When you add a personal device, your dashboard looks like this. You'll have a pause button that works across all devices. On the personal device, it works 24/7. On the school device, it works outside of school hours only, but it's an across the board. You can pause everything at the same time. The activity summary now becomes a blend or a combination. That school device summary that I shared with a last account, that will populate in this little quadrant, this square here. That will be most used apps and websites, most used categories on the school device. These other sections will be referencing the personal device that you added. We do some different things on the personal, or some additional things on the personal device. We do some more things. We give you more features and functions than we do on the school device. So I'm excited to share with you what those look like. One of the, I think, impactful pieces is we're able to let you know how much screen time your child has used by the day or by the week on their personal device. We will also report that to you for each site, website, game, app that they've accessed. We're able to show you the duration of time spent on each of those sites. When you add a personal device, your timeline then becomes something you can toggle between. And remember, the timeline was the list, the 30-day history of app activity, searches, web activity. I can toggle now between what the school activity is here on the right. So I can see what my child's doing on the school device. And then I can see what they're doing on the personal device separated, right? So school device activity, family device activity. And then this is a part that when Teodora talks about managing access, setting boundaries, having conversations, this rules section is just a way for you to really make those things a reality, and help support your efforts in doing that. So on the personal device that you add, you get 5 of these rules and routines. There's about 8 things that Qustodio can do on personal devices. We give you as a parent 5 of the most powerful and probably important ones, completely for free. I also want to mention that free device license that you get. You can take that with you even if you leave the district, or your child exits the district. You can maintain that personal device license for forever. So back to the rules section on the personal device that I add. So I'll speak to my daughter's Kindle Fire here. I have a web filter on it now. So the school device that your child has the Linewise filtering in place on it. It's spectacular. It blocks inappropriate content. Any search that your child does, any website your child tries to access, our software analyzes that, compares it to what's deemed safe or unsafe, and makes a decision for access based on that. But most people don't have anything like that. Every school district has something like that on a school device. Most people don't have anything like that on family owned devices or personal devices. With Qustodio, for the device that you add, you get a web filter on there. And so if I click on the web filter, what this means is we've categorized the internet by each of these categories. And so as a parent, I can block or allow. If I want to block webmail, I can go here and click block. I can get an alert if my child goes to a blocked category, or I can allow it. So think of mature content. If it's blocked, all of these here are blocked by default. Mature content, I don't want to allow it. I'm going to keep it blocked, but I'd also like to receive an alert if my child stumbles upon any of that, either intentionally or not. I can set that alert here as well. So I will say everybody kind of has a different favorite part of the rules section. I take the most comfort in knowing that my child's device has filtering on it, and that we've at least made some steps to keep off, intentionally or otherwise, stumbling on the bad stuff. You can also block or allow websites. So if I want to add a website, I can choose to get, I put in the website link here, the URL here, and I decide if I want to block it or allow it. So there's really 2 approaches to this, right? I might have a blocked category like forums, but within that category there's a specific website I'm okay with my child visiting. In that case, I can keep the category blocked but allow a specific website. Or vice versa, if there's a category that's allowed and I'd like to block a specific website, I can do that as well, and I can receive alerts. So the web filtering, very powerful. There's additional features here to enforce safe search, block unknown websites that aren't categorized, block unsupported browsers. Play around with those, get a feel for those, but they're all powerful. And is Teodora has kind of taught me over the time that we've worked together. There's kind of a gradual release of responsibility with kids, and at some point it's a matter of teaching them and giving them a little more freedom, but still kind of keeping your eye on things to make sure everything's okay. So I would imagine this becomes less restrictive as your child gets older and shows that they're able to manage their online world safely. But these tools are here to help you with that. The other pieces, I can set daily time limits, so I can manage screen time this way. So on Saturday, this upcoming weekend, if I want to tell my daughter, you get 3 hours of screen time on Saturday. I don't care how you divide that up over the day. If you want to watch one movie or if you want to break it up, but you get total 3 hours. After that, we're going to lock the device or lock the internet. I can also receive an alert when she reaches her 3 hour limit, and I can add more time if I would like to. And I can schedule that by day. I can also set an offline schedule. We call these routines. So if I want to say, all right, every day from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., we're only going to allow educational websites on the device, I can do that. So I'm putting a time-based filter essentially on the device where I'm saying during these hours, anything not categorized as an educational website will not be accessible. I can also just set a more focused. Well, I'm articulating that like I'm over articulating that. I can lock the internet for. I can block the internet, brick the device. I can schedule. All right, Monday through Friday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. This is family time. No more internet. I use this as Theodore mentioned, taking devices out of the bedroom and out of the room. We have that policy in our household where devices need to be on the kitchen counter at bedtime. But I've also implemented the routines to say after it's usually a little later after 9 p.m. on Saturday, the device you can't do anything with it anyhow. So if I forget to take it out of the bedroom or that doesn't happen, I know that that's in place. The other pieces that I encourage you to play around with are game and app blocking. This will allow you to set rules and time limits for specific games and apps on the device. And then you also have some additional YouTube controls. I think just about any parent knows that YouTube is I use YouTube more than I watch regular TV, but there's as much bad as there is good on there. So YouTube controls managing that screen time and managing access are also made available to you. So all of those are completely for free. They're completely free forever, and that's one device per child. Now, we are in the actual dead middle of a transition from our personal device offering. So if you are to create your account tonight, the personal device offering is going to change between now and Tuesday. The way it has always been historically was we give families 2 devices per household, regardless of how many children or students they may have in the district. We got feedback from our districts that said we'd really like this to be more equitable so that if a parent has more than 2 children, they can protect a device for each of their children. So beginning on Tuesday, the offering that's being provided is 1 device per child. So I say that to say if you create an account, you have 1 child, you create an account tonight, you add 2 devices. On Tuesday, it will ask you to limit that to one device. But the upside of that is really to be more supportive of our families that have more than two children. All right, that was a lot of stuff. Hopefully, I covered kind of everything there, but I'm going to hang on for any questions or anything that I can be of help with. Thank you, Theodore.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Greg. Yeah, if anybody has any questions on anything Greg shared, please let us know. Greg, I think you always do a really great job of just really breaking it down, making it very simple. And as I said during my portion of the presentation too, the Qustodio parent app really makes that ABC approach come alive. Yeah, I feel like I always learn something new from you as well, Greg, when I watch you do a demo with all of our partner districts. So this is just the QR code that you can use. Again, if you'd like to head on over to the link that I shared in the chat before. If you haven't created an account yet, you can do that now. We do have a question here in the Q&A, Greg, if you might want to address that just before we move on and wrap up. So it's a question around how Qustodio interacts with Apple iPhone screen time and
I bel
content restriction settings.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I need to get more information on that as far as the interplay between those two. That's a great question. Um, I'll find out more information. I do know that we have a ton of parents that use this, uh, the personal device side with iPhones, but I'm not 100% sure on the interaction or compatibility between those two, like which does one trump the other, or vice versa in that scenario. So I will get you some more information if that's okay, and pass it back through your district to be able to share. I appreciate it.
Perfect. Thank you, Greg. All right. And as we wrap up, the one sort of final resource that we really wanted to share with you today is this very cool annual report that our Qustodio team puts together, releases early each year. This was the 2024 report that really looked at this new young generation of kids and their online behaviors, how they use devices, what are some of the ways in which sort of their parents react to some of these online behaviors that are really starting to emerge for the very first time, especially with some of the interactions that children are having with AI at this point. It's a very, very new phenomenon, and I think all of us, whether we're on this sort of online safety end of things, or if you're a parent, as this is all playing out in your home, we're all starting to learn a little bit about some of these sort of new relationships that we're seeing children form online. So I've dropped that URL in the chat for you as well. I really encourage you to go ahead and read this report. What was really nice about the way the report was done is that part of the report was really based on the data that we're able to see inside the parent app, the ways in which that parents and caregivers are actually using the app to really sort of mentor and help children navigate the online world. But then what the team also did was select a sort of smaller population of our customers and users, and have some conversations with them, both the children and the parents, around some of their experiences with the online world and their experiences with using the app as well. So it's just a very sort of cool insight into what children are actually doing online, and how their parents and caregivers are really actively trying to adapt to what is going on. So I think with that, we will wrap up. You've got the URL there for your school district, where you'll be able to find a little bit more information about Qustodio, be able to access the Online Safety Hub from there as well. As Greg mentioned, if you do have any questions about Qustodio itself, you can always reach out to us and let us know. Our support team will do their best to help you with any issues that you might encounter there. I think we answered all of the questions that we had. And I think with that, Ray, I might invite you to unmute again. Just let us know if you have sort of any thoughts or feedback on what Greg and I shared, and then we can wrap up.
Well, thank you, Teodora and Greg, for doing such a great job. This is really outstanding information. And I think, from my perspective, I think this is a topic that can feel overwhelming for a lot of our parents. But what I love is that you guys have demonstrated that there are some really basic steps that really any parent can take to help address this challenge. And so, again, thank you to everybody who joined the webinar. I think one of our goals is to continue to expand how we utilize Linewize and Qustodio to serve our families. So again, really appreciate the work you guys are putting in and the support.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ray, so much. A big thank you to you and your team, and really all the staff at the district for being so actively engaged in online safety outside of just the filter, which, as Greg mentioned earlier, is really sort of the baseline. for how we need to protect children online. So we're really excited to be able to provide this information to you. We're really excited about this sort of ongoing relationship that we have. I'm sure we'll be back for more webinars. In the meantime, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at this email if they're custodial related, and then through the Online Safety Hub as well if you have any additional questions. Thank you, Greg, for being my co-host.
Thanks, everybody. This was great. I
You.
really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Hope you have a great evening.
All right,
Thank you,
bye-bye.
guys.
Bye.